A crown did not destroy Saul. An enemy army did not destroy Saul. A lack of talent did not destroy Saul. He was tall, admired, chosen, and handed everything a man could dream of. Yet he still fell. Because the heaviest thing a king can carry is not gold, it is ego. This is the story of the first king of Israel, a man who rose higher than anyone around him, then collapsed under the weight of the darkness inside his own heart. This is the tragedy of Saul. Welcome to Everlight Animations. Before the madness, before the jealousy, before the spear in his hand and rage in his eyes, Saul was hope. Israel had long lived as scattered tribes, threatened by enemies and divided in leadership. The people cried out for a king, someone strong, visible, powerful enough to unite them. And Saul looked like the answer. He stood head and shoulders above other men, strong, impressive, commanding. The kind of presence that turns heads when entering a room. Some leaders earn authority slowly. Saul seemed born wearing it. When he was chosen, many saw a destiny unfolding. A new era, a united people, a warrior king. And in the beginning, Saul showed promise. He could be courageous, he could be decisive, he could inspire men to rally. He was not introduced as a villain. That is what makes his story painful. Because some of the darkest falls begin in bright places. Power has a strange nature. It does not always corrupt immediately. Often it reveals. It magnifies what was already hidden. Whatever insecurity lives quietly in ordinary life can become dangerous once seated on a throne. Whatever pride whispers in private can roar when given authority. And for Saul, the fracture began not in battle, but in obedience. A command was given, simple, clear, trust and follow. But Saul chose another route, the route many powerful people choose. Partial obedience dressed up as wisdom. He rationalized.
Let the darkness test out my will.
Adjusted. Improvised. He believed his judgment could improve what had already been commanded. How many downfalls begin there?
I know what the Lord has commanded, but I will not obey. My decisions will shape our destiny, not some unseen voice. I am
Not
the
with
king.
rebellion that
My
looks
will
evil,
be done.
but with self-confidence that looks reasonable. Saul kept what should have been surrendered. He spared what should have been removed. Then, when confronted, he defended himself. Excuses filled the room, where humility should have stood. That was the turning point. Because once a person protects pride instead of truth, every future decision becomes harder. Something changed in Saul after that. The palace remained rich. The throne remained his. The crown still shined. But peace began to leave. Imagine the halls of the royal house, servants moving quietly, torches burning against stone walls, luxury everywhere. Yet the king inside was starving, not for bread, for rest. He became restless, troubled, unsettled. When inner peace leaves, outer success cannot replace it. Soon suspicion entered, then fear, then obsession. Every glance felt dangerous. Every whisper sounded like conspiracy. Every talented person looked like a threat. And then David entered the story. Young, unknown. A shepherd boy carrying courage beyond his years. He played music that soothed Saul's tormented mind. Think about the irony. The king who could command armies needed comfort from a servant with a harp. For moments, the music calmed him. The storms inside grew quiet. But peace, borrowed from someone else, cannot heal a heart refusing truth. Then David faced Goliath, and won. The nation celebrated. Songs spread through the streets. Saul has slain his thousands. David, his tens of thousands. To a humble king, it could have been joy. To Saul, it was poison. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to rot gratitude. He heard honor for another man and translated it as theft from himself. From that day forward, David was no longer a blessing in his eyes. He was a rival. Jealousy turned the palace into a battlefield. Saul gripped a spear while David played music, then hurled it. Twice. Imagine that scene. A king trying to kill the very person easing his pain. That is what bitterness does. It attacks the medicine. David fled, and Saul pursued him across deserts, caves, mountains, wilderness strongholds. Think about the waste of it. A king with a kingdom spent years chasing one man. A ruler entrusted with a nation consumed his strength hunting shadows. He could have built cities, strengthened justice, protected borders, raised wise heirs. Instead, jealousy devoured the calendar of his life. This is one of history's most brutal truths. If you refuse to master envy, envy will assign you meaningless missions. Again and again, Saul had chances to turn back. David spared his life twice. Opportunities for repentance stood right in front of him. But pride hates kneeling, even when mercy invites it. So Saul continued downward. The man once chosen for leadership became isolated. Relationships fractured. His household divided. His judgment weakened. When people reject guidance long enough, they often seek voices they once knew were dangerous. In desperation, Saul searched for answers in forbidden places. A king who once had direction now wandered in darkness for scraps of certainty. Then came the final battlefield, Mount Gilboa. The Philistines advanced. Israel faltered. Saul's sons fell. The kingdom trembled. And the man who once stood tallest in Israel fell upon his own sword. A tragic end. Not because he lacked ability, not because he lacked opportunity, but because he never conquered the enemy within. That is why Saul's story still matters. Because most people will never wear a literal crown, but many carry smaller versions of one. Status, career, influence, beauty, money, recognition. And these things are not evil, but if identity fuses to them, they become dangerous weight. Saul teaches us, you can look strong and be fragile. You can be praised publicly and collapsing privately. You can have power over others while having none over yourself. The greatest battle is rarely outside the walls. It is inside the heart, against pride, against insecurity, against the need to be above correction, against the fear of someone else shining brighter. And humility is not weakness. Humility is protection. It keeps success from poisoning you. It lets others rise without threatening your worth. It makes correction survivable. It turns crowns into tools instead of cages. So if someone else is winning right now, celebrate them. If truth confronts you, receive it. If jealousy whispers, challenge it early. If success finds you, bow lower, not higher. Because the tragedy of Saul was not that he lost a throne. It was that he lost himself while trying to keep it. If this cinematic story moved you, subscribe to Everlight Animations for more journeys through history, faith, and the hidden battles of the human heart. Like this video and share it with someone carrying heavy success right now. Because the crown you wear should never become the cage you live in.